Episode 1. This Man. Janie. Janie. The voice cut through my blank stare out the car window and jolted me back into the present. I rotated my head and guided my eyes to the driver, who slowly came back into focus. You okay? I'm fine, just a little tired. That was a lie. I was a lot tired. I hadn't gotten more than a few hours of sleep for the past several nights, and it was starting to take a toll on me. If this didn't go away soon, my parents would start to notice, and I didn't want to go through that again. I grabbed my olive green travel mug from the cup holder and took a long drink of black coffee in the hope that it would get me through the day. We turned into the school parking lot and pulled up to our usual spot. Same spot every day. Don't get me wrong, it was great not to have to ride the bus anymore, but it was pretty clear that Tom wanted more than to just be my chauffeur. He was a nice enough guy, but I just wasn't that into him. He was gaming and anime, but I really just needed to be around somebody who wasn't judging me all the time or looking at me funny. Tom didn't do that, and at this point, I think it was fair to say he was my only friend. I didn't want to go inside, but I picked myself out of the seat and made my way toward the ugly beige monolithic building anyway. I had been back to school for about 3 weeks, but everyone was still looking at me. I tried to blend into the background, but I suppose there was no way to get back to how things were before. Not now, anyway. For the few people that would talk to me, I could tell it was different. It always started with something like, "Are you okay?" or "How are you doing?" In their heads, they may have thought they were helping, but all I could hear was judgment. How long was this going to last, anyway? I opened the large glass side entrance door and made my way down a short hallway bounded on both sides by gray metal lockers. These particular cages belonged to the freshmen, and they looked like little kids to me. I half expected to see some boy pulling a girl's hair and then racing down the hall, but instead I noticed a girl crouching down at the base of her locker, staring at me as I walked by. That wasn't that weird, especially now, but the look on her face wasn't the typical judgment or revulsion. She looked scared. She didn't look too good either. Her eyes had dark circles under them, and it looked like she just threw on her clothes and makeup 5 minutes ago. Our eyes stayed locked for a few more seconds, only to be broken when I passed. Just another judge, I thought. The morning went pretty much like I expected. The coffee did its job, and by 11:30 it was time for me to make my daily pilgrimage to the counselor's office. Miss Schumann, like the composer. She was okay. I think she wanted to help, but what could she do, really? It was the standard boilerplate stuff. How are you doing? Are you depressed? Have you thought about hurting yourself? Are you taking your meds? Anything new in your life? Normally, I would robot through the questions and end the session, but for some reason I didn't understand. I opened my mouth. I haven't been sleeping really well for the past few nights. Miss Schumann looked at me with a kind of puzzled look on a now scrunched up face. That's really odd, she said. You're about the 4th person this week that has said that. There were 3 last week. Have you told your parents? Not yet, I replied. I think it'll pass. It's probably just the medication. I'll tell them if it lasts too much longer. Well, okay. Keep me in the loop. You need to make sure you're talking to people. Miss Schumann glanced at me with a slightly concerned look and asked me to tell the next person to come in when I left. When I opened the office door, I was startled to see the same girl I had seen in the hall this morning waiting on the bench outside. She was slightly teary-eyed and averted her gaze just as I told her to go in. Freshman drama queen, I thought. That's rich. She was the drama queen. What is wrong with you, I thought to myself. By economics, I could barely keep my eyes open. It was the last class of the day, and the coffee stopped working a few hours ago. The teacher was going on about the time value of money or some other mindless drivel, and no matter how hard I tried to focus, my head slowly lowered down onto my arm resting on the black Formica tabletop, and things started to fade out.
I'll be seeing you soon.
A nudge on my shoulder snapped me back into the classroom. My body tensed and jumped a little bit, and I could hear the laughter all around me. My head quickly darted from side to side until I locked in on the teacher standing over me. The laughter stopped abruptly. The kids in the class could see the look on my face. Are you okay? Asked the teacher. I heard what he said, but it took me a moment to recognize where it was coming from. The teacher leaned in toward me and softly spoke in my ear. Janie, do you need help? What? No, I've just been really tired. I tried to compose my thoughts and talk my way out of it. Can I go use the restroom? The teacher, now looking startlingly concerned, paused and looked at me for a moment. Are you sure you're okay? I can take you to see Miss Schumann. When is this going to stop? I thought to myself. No, it's okay. I'm fine, I said overly emphatically. I just need to go to the bathroom. The teacher reluctantly consented, and I made my way out of the door. I raced down the hall and shoved the bathroom door open. Staring into the mirror above the plain white sink, it all came back as I saw the terror in my own face. It was him. It was him! Who was this man? Why do I keep seeing him? When is this going to stop? My eyes started to fill up when I heard the door open. I quickly ran my fingers over my face to conceal any sign of the tears and turned to see who had come in. It was Miss Schumann. Here you go, sweetheart. My mom brought me a cup of tea. I was laying on the couch under a blanket with my legs drawn up against my torso. I could tell she was freaking out, even though she looked calm on the outside. You know I love you. You can talk to me. Please, sweetie. Mom, I just fell asleep and got a little startled. That's all. I tried to be as convincing as I could, but I could tell she wasn't buying it. What was I going to say? Hey, Mom, I keep seeing this creepy guy in my dreams who smiles at me, and not in a good way. Did she want to know that this has been happening almost every night since that day? If they thought I was losing it before, this would definitely push it over the edge. Hey, maybe your kid is bat crap crazy. Mom, I know you love me. I know what you're thinking, but it won't happen again. I promise. I'm just tired. I just need to get some rest. She didn't say anything. She just looked at me for a moment. Okay, sweetie. Just please talk to me if something isn't right. Stay home tomorrow, please. I will. I really wanted to make her feel better, especially after what I had put her through in the past few months, but there was no way I was going back to the doctor. Whatever this was, I just had to wait for it to pass. I must have drifted off for a while, because it was dark outside when the text notification from my phone woke me. I didn't get too many texts since that day, so it was more than a little unusual to get one at night. It was from Tom. Call me ASAP. 3 exclamation points. I looked at the time, 11:30 p.m. I called. I wasn't sure whether to tell you. Tom was clearly trepidatious in his tone. Tell me what? I asked. There was a pause. Camille Trottier tried to kill herself after school today, came the response. Who the hell is Camille Trottier? I asked incredulously. She's a freshman. Dark hair, kind of pretty. For a freshman, I mean, said Tom, trying to backtrack his words. I just thought you might like to know in case, well, you know. Yeah, thanks, I said, not really sure how to react. One more weird thing. She was around some friends when she tried, and just before, she yelled something like, I can't stand seeing this man anymore. I fell silent for a minute. I went to the website and looked up the photos for the freshman class. Camille Trottier, I mumbled as I moved through the pictures. My heart sank. It was her, the girl I had seen in the morning. Would it be okay if I stopped by tomorrow to see you? Asked Tom. Yeah, that's fine. I'll be around, I replied while hanging up, still focusing on the girl in the picture. What the hell was she talking about? I started to think about the way she was looking at me by the lockers. Was this my fault?
Tomorrow night, then.
I jolted upright, still seeing the afterimage of that smile. My heart was pounding so hard I didn't immediately notice the knocking on the door. I opened it to see Tom standing there, his face quickly turning from peppy to concerned. I put my hands on the side of my head and tried to shake the dream image away. I'm really sorry, Janie. I wasn't sure if I should tell you, but I thought if it were me in your place, I would want to know. Tom was acting like he was trying to avoid stepping on a baby or something. It's okay, Tom. It is what it is. I was still trying to get the smile out of my mind, and I couldn't think of anything else to say. As much as I wanted to put the whole thing behind me, I knew it was always going to be there now. Tom, I have to tell you something, but it's going to sound really weird, and I can't be the only one who knows, just in case. This was the first time I had talked to anybody about that day other than the doctors. I don't even remember wanting to do it. It was like I was watching someone else go through the motions. I hadn't felt right for a long time before that, but it still seems like it wasn't me. Tom listened intently as I recalled the events of the day. As I neared the end of the story, I looked at him in the eyes and said, "Here comes the weirdest part. When I finally started coming around in the hospital, I remember seeing this man. I don't know how to describe him. He was pretty plain looking. He had these big bushy eyebrows and was slightly balding with a bad comb over. But the worst part was his smile." Tom was still listening intently. "He had this creepy frickin' smile, and it was scary as hell. Ever since that day, I've been seeing this man every time I have a dream. He almost never speaks, just gives me that creepy smile. I can barely sleep." "Have you ever seen this guy in real life?" asked Tom. "Not that I remember," I replied. "You should probably tell somebody," said Tom. "Your mom or something." "She's already treating me like I belong in an asylum. This would just be confirmation for her." "Well, you need to tell somebody. How about Schumann?" asked Tom. "Yeah, maybe. The thing that is scaring the hell out of me is what you said about Camille. You know, that she said, 'I can't stand seeing this man anymore.'" "What about it?" asked Tom. "Well, for some reason, and I can't tell you why, but I just know to refer to the guy in my dreams as this man." 11:30 a.m. the next day, and I'm back in Schumann's office. She could tell I was nervous. I had roboted the usual answers to her questions, but the whole time I was trying to figure out if I should tell her about this man. She told me I looked tired and asked if I was sleeping any better, so I lied and said it was okay. She said that's good, but I could tell she knew I was lying. We finished the session, and with a concerned look on her face, she asked me to send in the next person. I opened the door and saw a guy from my Spanish class, James, I think. He looked at me, and I noticed his right leg was moving nervously up and down. He stood up and walked past me, quickly closing the door behind him. I went to the cafeteria to get something from the vending machine. I sat down at the table and put my head down. I'm not sure how long I was out when the class bell startled me awake. I pulled myself upright, and I heard a loud, sustained shriek as I looked across the table. There, sitting in front of me, was the man with the smile. The noise was unbearable, but I soon realized that the shriek was coming from me. Out of the corner of my eyes, I could see teachers running at full sprint toward me, just as this man started to fade out of view. "He was here! He was here!" I screamed. Miss Schumann was running up to me now. "This man was sitting right here!" I stood up and pointed emphatically at the now empty chair. Between the teachers surrounding me and the students now pouring into the hallway to see what was happening, it was utter chaos. "Come with me, Janie," said Miss Schumann, grabbing at my arm. "You need to come with me right now." I was still stuck in a state of disbelief, but she was pulling me along, hard. Maybe I was going crazy. I don't even know if it's possible to be too terrified to be scared, but that's how I felt. I was just numb. Miss Schumann pushed me up the stairs and into her office. She placed me into the chair and pulled her own right in front of me so we were sitting face to face. "Janie, you need to tell me what just happened. What did you just see?" Miss Schumann looked like she had seen a ghost. Her normally pretty face was pale, almost sickly. She was staring at me while my head was wavering back and forth on my neck like a flag in the wind. "I can't go back, Miss Schumann. I can't go back to the hospital." The words just spilled from my mouth. "You're not going anywhere, Janie," said Miss Schumann reassuringly. "Tell me what you just saw. Why did you say this man?" It was like having cold water splashed on my face. I looked at her eyes and I could see that she was afraid. "I wanted to tell you, I really did, but they would put me back in the hospital." I was just about incoherent now. "Janie, why did you say this man?" "I see him almost every night. He's in my dreams. I can't get him out of my head. He just looks at me with that creepy fucking smile. It's like he's enjoying it. I'm sorry, Miss Schumann. I didn't mean to swear." "It's okay, Janie. When did this start?" I was trying to be as clear as I could, but I was sobbing heavily and I realized that I was rocking back and forth in my seat. "It started just after my attempt, when I was in the hospital. He's been here almost every night, but only in my dreams until just now." Miss Schumann abruptly sat back in her chair, mouth wide open as she moved her hand to cover it. "What? What is it?" I yelled. "What do you know? Am I going crazy?" I could tell she was trying to pull her thoughts together. "Janie," said Miss Schumann, "did you know Camille?" "No, I just noticed her in the hall the other day. I wouldn't have even paid attention, but she was staring at me, and then again outside of your office. Why? What is it?" Janie, I probably shouldn't be telling you this, but Camille said she was having nightmares. She was seeing a man. She called him this man. She said he was smiling at her. And James Bohacek, he also said he was having trouble sleeping because he was having nightmares about this man. He said he didn't know his name, but he knew to call him this man. This morning I had 3 people come in and complain about nightmares with the smiling man. Miss Schumann looked like she was about to puke. I have to go. I have to get away from here. I was literally shaking from head to toe. I brought this thing here. It was me. It was because of me, and now it's hurting people. I have to go away before it starts to hurt anyone else. I got up and moved to the door. Miss Schumann tried to grab my arm, but she wasn't quick enough to stop me. I ran out the door and down the hallway, pushing the side door open that led to the parking lot. I ran as fast as I could toward the wooded area at the edge of the lot. I knew that if I didn't make it, I was going to be in the hospital before nightfall. I made it to the woods and ran for another few minutes before I emerged at the edge of the town park. There were a few people sitting around on benches or playing with small children. I gathered myself the best I could, knowing that I didn't have much time. I started to walk briskly through the park, thinking I would call Tom and tell him what had happened. He might be able to get me out of town. I started to move toward the center of the park when I noticed the man sitting on the bench reading the newspaper. As I approached, the paper slowly lowered and I almost passed out. It was this man. There was the bushy eyebrows, the comb-over, and the smile. I started back into a run, and he turned his head to watch me as I moved by. I was running out of breath, but I kept a good pace while I made my way toward the main street of our town. There seemed to be a lot of people out for this time of day. As I got closer to the people walking, I stopped dead in my tracks. Every one of the people was this man, walking on each side of the street. Every one of them turned to look at me with that smile as they passed by me. Janie! Janie! The voice snapped me out of whatever state I was in. It was Tom. I don't have a clue how he found me, but there he was. Get in the car. We need to go. We need to go now. Everybody will be looking for you. I was still hazy, but I followed as Tom led me to the car. I turned my head and stared out the window at the blur of trees and houses going by. I'm not sure how long we were driving, but it seemed like hours, and it was getting dark out. Tom pulled into a small paved area off the road. Where were we? I looked out and saw the road continued along a river and over a fairly large dam. We had parked in an overlook that would probably be pretty amazing on any other day. Why did you stop here? I asked Tom, still looking out the window.
Janie, look at me.
Tom's voice sounded strange. I turned my head only to come face to face with this man, sitting in the driver's seat, smile and all. I was just numb. My grandmother had a farm, and she would slaughter her own chickens. I had the misfortune of witnessing this when I was young, and I will never forget how the captured bird just seems to go limp, resigned to the inevitable. That was the feeling I had now. Why are you doing this to me? I asked this man, breaking into a sob.
You brought me here, Janie. Now I know how to find everyone. You showed me where to look.
But why are you doing this? Why are you hurting people? I was almost pleading with this man.
Eventually I'll be able to find everyone, now that I know how. I have to go away for a little while, now that people know that I'm here. But don't worry, I'll be back. You are special, Janie. You found me and let me in, so I'll give you a gift, a choice.
This man looked at me and gave me his signature smile.
The dam is right there. If you want, you can end this for yourself. The others won't get this choice. But I'll leave it to you. You earned it. If you want, you can make your way back into town. But I think we both know where you'll end up.
His smile seemed to be getting larger by the moment.
Don't worry, though. I'll be sure to visit you every night in the hospital, now that we're so close.
With that, this man reached over and opened the door. I looked at him, and the smile seemed to cover his entire face.
I can't wait to find out what choice you make.